Most, if not all, of the Joshi content on this channel has happened in the land of All Japan Women, or AJW, or Zenjo, or whatever you wish to call it. Not exactly surprising, seeing as they were one of the oldest wrestling promotions in the whole of the country, and for a long time they were the only game in town when it came to Joshi Puroresu. This one's a bit different, because we're going off to one of their biggest competitors in the 90s. Although as is often the case, we're going to be seeing an interpromotional show that may just be this promotion's biggest highlight, at least from the 90s. The promotion is JWP Joshi Puroresu, and we're going to July 31st, 1993 for what was their biggest and most important show to date, the Thunder Queen Battle in Yokohama, with a main event that will see 8 of JWP and AJW's biggest and best talents duking it out in a 60-minute Iron Woman contest. We've got Aja Kong and Dynamite Kansai, Mayumi Ozaki and Kyoko Inoue, Cutie Suzuki and Saki Hasegawa, Takako Inoue and Hikaru Fukuoka. It's one hefty match indeed, with more talent than you can shake the proverbial at, and there's a few other little matches to look at as well. It certainly promises an awful lot on paper, but will it deliver? Well, there's only one way to find out. You may know from previous videos that JWP Joshi Puroresu was one of 2 groups that split off from the original Japanese women's pro wrestling, the original alternative to Zenjo that formed in 1986, with no pesky things such as retirement ages and what have you. The original JWP split up and closed in 1992, and while this JWP was a more traditional Joshi promotion in a similar form to that of AJW, the other group, Ladies Legend Pro Wrestling, or LLPW, was more akin to a shoot-style promotion, as exemplified by its top star Shinobu Kandori. In the beginning, JWP naturally featured a lot of top stars who'd previously made their name in Zenjo, the likes of Devil Masami, Norio Tateno, and Jackie Sato. However, there were also younger talents that gradually made bigger names of themselves before taking serious charge in the 90s. You've got Dynamite Kansai and Mayumi Ozaki, both of whom made their debut on the original JWP's very first show, as well as Cutie Suzuki, one of JWP's first-born dojo graduates, and someone who'd really helped boost the company's profile as something of an idol character, even having a Mega Drive game made after her, Cutie Suzuki no Inside Angel, in 1990. The 1992 split in JWP came right as Joshi was flourishing and striding into an all-new boom period, one where the audience was somewhat older and more male than the one that existed during the heyday of teams like the Crush Gals. Wrestling as a whole was on the up, and the talent in AJW was so good, so white-hot, that they couldn't possibly be ignored. JWP would certainly reap the benefits of the boom, but if one particular match could be pointed to as their breakthrough, it's the one where AJW and JWP started working together. November 26th's Dream Rush in Karasaki was one of Zenjo's biggest cards since the mid-1980s. It was headlined by an interpromotional 2 out of 3 falls bout between AJW's Minami Toyota and Toshio Yamada, and JWP's Dynamite Kansai and Mayumi Ozaki, and the quartet absolutely tore the house down. This epic 40+ minute tag battle wasn't just the greatest tag bout in the history of Joshi to date, it was one of the greatest that had ever happened. Ever. For Kansai and Ozaki especially, this bout would immediately put them into the elite category. There would certainly be plenty of people outside of Japan who'd get to know them from this stunning match. It's from here where we get the events that lead up to the Dream Slam in 1993, one of the greatest cards of all time, and the second Dream Slam would see a second meeting between the 2 teams, a similarly stunning bout that, as you might expect, got the old 5 stars from Big Dave. And there would be plenty more excellent interpromotional Donnybooks to speak about, with the likes of LLPW and FMW also getting involved. It was undoubtedly a good time, and JWP would soon get their own television show in the summer of 1993 on the Wow Wow cable channel. The July 31st show at the Yokohama Bunker Gymnasium would be the first all-new card to be shown on the channel, pretty easily making it the biggest show of the promotion's young life, and obviously the company had to deliver on high expectations. So, what better way to ensure you do that than by putting 8 of JWP and AJW's best and brightest together in one glorious, epic beyond epic contest? Something that'd have good old JR screaming "Slabanaka" and diving naked into a bowl of barbecue sauce and Skittles right on the strike of the bell. That's basically what we have with the Thunder Queen battle. And sure, it does kind of make for a one-match show, but what a match it promises to be. Before we get to it, however, we do have some other bouts, amuse-bouches and appetisers, to eat first. Watch anyway, and happily this show isn't quite as comically long as something like Big Egg Universe. Happily, I once again have to throw a big shout out to Big Wrestling Queendom Duel. Thanks to this channel, the whole show can not just be enjoyed on YouTube, but it can be enjoyed in absolutely exceptional quality. This is as good a Puro Whip as you're going to find on the platform, and that just makes things all the better. Let's get stuck in. We have 4 matches to watch before we get to the big main event, so let's have a quick run through of them. There are a couple of highlights here. The opener sees Numachi, also known as Sami Numata, defending her AJW Junior title against JWP's Sumio Toyama. This is the sort of thing that very much feels like a Young Lions bout, both of them making the most out of admittedly limited movesets, with the occasional heat coming from Numachi healing it up and attacking Toyama with her shovel. Honestly, not much to speak of here, and this bout ends in a 20-minute draw. The second match is a much better warm-up, with 2 younger legends, JWP's Commander Bolshoi against AJW's Infernal Kaoru. We get a little bit of comedy based around Bolshoi's Rose to start things off, and then the match itself is a nice and fast-paced affair with lots of technical lucha-style action kicking around. There's plenty of nice arm drags and the like, and while not everything comes off perfectly, we get some pretty impressive spots for sure. Kaoru eventually wins this one following 2 moonsaults off the top, and there's plenty of respect between 2 talents who would go on to have great careers. I believe this is the first time we've seen Command Bolshoi on the channel, and really no one is more loyal to JWP than her. Bolshoi would work for JWP throughout its entire 25-year existence, also acting as the company's final president. Kaoru would really break through as a major Joshi talent when she joined up with Gaia in the mid-90s, and her career would last over 35 years. The third match is where things really do liven up. It's a tag bout between AJW's Kaoru Ito and Suzuka Minami, going against JWP's Kandi Okutsu and Devil Masami. We have 3 superb and often underrated 90s Joshi talents in here, and of course we do have one other person who was already a legend. Devil Masami, a 1978 debutante, was still thought of as one of the very best in the game circa 1993, and she certainly bosses a lot of the proceedings here with vicious lariats and powerbombs, meaning a lot of the AJW team's worries involve making sure that they keep Devil Samu at bay for as long as possible. Both Ito and Minami have a fair bit of experience themselves going into this bout, while Okutsu is very much the youngster having only made her debut a year earlier, but she makes a fantastic account for herself, nearly getting the win at one point with her signature rolling German suplexes. Ito specialises in double stomps, and those do serious damage at points, especially when she's able to hit a stomp on Masami from the top all the way to the outside. Eventually, the Zenjo team takes this one. Masami gets suplexed and pushed to the outside one last time as Ito hits a twisting senton, and they follow up with a Doomsday Device style body press on Okutsu for the win. Again, we have a good amount of respect between the 2 teams at the end of the contest. Outside of the big main event, this match is definitely the one to watch from this card. Our semi-main promises a mix of technical prowess going up against hard strikes, the submission queen against the hard kick queen. JWP's Plum Mariko faces AJW's Yumiko Hotta in a match that ends up being... Well, let's break it down. We do have some strong moments, especially when Plum is able to use her aerial ability and speed to lock in some nasty submissions, coming very close to getting the win at points. But for the most part, this pair just don't feel in sync at all with each other, with a few noticeable foul-ups, some of them quite major. There is one where Hotta pushes Plum off the top, and it looks like she lands head first off the frickin' apron. As we've seen in other videos, Hotta is one of the toughest women around, but a lot of the time in this match that toughness comes in the form of big kicks to the head. When combined with the lack of flow in the match, it gets very ugly. We do get some pretty nasty shots here, almost to the point of recklessness. Now, I'm not sure if this is just putting the match in the context of Plum Mariko's tragic career, but it does seem as though she's concussed from around the 5-minute point, just not moving as she should, and honestly Hotta's not helping matters an awful lot with those fricking kicks. In other instances, the injury is such that Mariko is unable to take the moves and bumps well at all, which also isn't helping. The crucial moment here comes when Hotta reverses a top rope dropkick into a powerbomb, one where Mariko lands with, again, a really nasty thud. Following this, it's all about Hotta trying to finish Plum off with the pyramid driver, and while she's able to reverse a couple of times, a couple of decisive kicks to the head finally allow Hotta to hit the pyramid driver and get the 3 count in what, beyond a couple of hope spots here and there, was basically an extended squash. What to say? Well, this match is bloody awful, in all honesty. The two didn't really start in sync, they got worse from there, and I really don't feel that Hotta piling on the head kicks was the best answer for that. There can be a bit of a double standard when watching Puro, admittedly, especially from this era where there's neck and head bumps aplenty, all sorts of daredevil action, enjoyed even when we're very aware and concerned about the damage it does to the body, especially when put in the context of someone like Plum Mariko, who ended up passing way too soon as a result of that. But even if that hadn't been the case, well, sometimes a match isn't stiff and hard-hitting, it's ugly and unwatchable. And I'm afraid this is one of those times. That previous match may well bring us into the main event on a slightly sour note, but we're here anyway, and we still have well over an hour left on this card. It's time for Team JWP against Team AJW, the New Dimension 8 Queens battle. This match is going to work a little differently than the usual 60-minute Iron match, in that the first 20 minutes will essentially be 5-minute singles bouts. This is called the first attack. Both wrestlers tag out after 5 minutes, then the next 2 will be in for another 5 minutes, and so on. And then the final 40 minutes of the bout will be a 4-on-4 tag contest. Essentially, this means that we're going to begin with 4 5-minute sprints in a row, and that most certainly sounds good. Here's a reminder of just who we've got in this contest. The AJW side have put some seriously strong talents on their visiting team, that's for sure. Saki Hasegawa was one of the current holders of the AJW tag titles with Kaoru Ito and a former AJW champion, not on the level of the red belt, but comparable to a US or TV title. Takako Inoue was also a former AJW champ, a former 2-time tag champ with Mariko Yoshida, and she's here with her regular partner Kyoko Inoue, aka Double Inoue's. Kyoko Inoue is a former AJW, IWA and All Pacific champ, the latter essentially being the second biggest singles belt, and also a winner of the Tag League and Grand Prix in 1991, so she's already decorated as hell. And then, of course, there's Aja Kong, 1992 Japan Grand Prix and Tag League winner with Kyoko Inoue, the reigning and dominant holder of the WWWA Championship, aka the Red Belt, the top dog in all of AJW and by extension, all of Joshi. And who do we have on the home team? JWP's quartet starts with Hikari Fukuoka, a young hotshot who's been compared a lot to Minami Toyota. Indeed, she comes in here basically wearing Toyota's attire, taking a little pot shot. QT Suzuki is one of the company's best loved stars, was the finalist in the tournament for JWP's openweight title, and a former tag team champ with Mayumi Ozaki. Ozaki is right at the head of JWP's invading army, not just a great singles wrestler, but one half of the WWWA Tag Team Champions, having won that belt at Dream Slam 2 with her current partner, Dynamite Kansai, the top dog of JWP and the holder of their top singles belt, the JWP Openweight title. Even when you consider that some of these wrestlers are still relatively early into their careers, there's a lot of titles and honours in this match. And so, let us begin. The first sprint sees Hikari Fukuoka take on Saki Hasegawa in the Super Athlete battle. Even these little sprints appear to have a name, at least going by the contemporary reports on the bout. Unsurprisingly, these two set a quick pace. Hasegawa's trying to ground Fukuoka a little, but speed tends to be of the essence. Hasegawa throws a nice quick gut wrench suplex and then goes for a deathlock, but Fukuoka counters with an inside cradle for a quick 3 count, meaning JWP already has a lead in the match at 2 minutes 33. The rest of the 5 minutes largely consists of ground exchanges, all good stuff, and both are working on a leg lock by the time we get to the second sprint. This time it's the Super Performer battle, with Mayumi Ozaki taking on Kyoko Inoue. Yeah, not likely to be bad, is it? Ozaki and Inoue throw a whole load at each other through the 5 minutes. Ozaki starts with DDTs, but Inoue's already throwing big bombs, trying to see about getting a quick equaliser. That doesn't happen, but Kyoko still punishes with her wonderful surfboard stretch. Even then, Ozaki does come close to a quick fall with a roll-up and a German suplex. Kyoko hits her springboard elbow and does manage to lock in the giant swing as we close out this sprint, and then we move to the third battle, Matinee Idol, Cutie Suzuki against Takako Inoue. There's a show of respect between the pair before we get into it, but they certainly aren't going to hold anything back. Suzuki very quickly hits a big release German for another near fall. There's a few big kicks and hammers here too, more Minoru than Cutie Suzuki, but Takako pulls back with a tombstone and then another spinning tombstone, almost getting the equaliser. Roll-up exchanges provide even more drama, and just as we're getting to the finish, Takako hits a backdrop, but again, not enough. And now we get to the big one, the World Champion battle, Kon versus Kansai. Obviously this was going to be the fourth sprint, and both are more than ready. Kansai comes full of fire, rushing straight in looking for the head kick, but Aja ducks and BAN! Uraken. It's exactly what she was expecting Kansai to do, and it's a perfect riposte. Kon demands a 10 count from the ref and, well, she gets it. Kansai can't get up in time, and at 16 minutes 33, the scores are level. Jeez, what a statement. If anything demonstrates the boss level of Aja Kon and the sort of role she's going to play here, it's that she evens up the scores by knocking out the rival top dog with her first freaking hit. And suddenly for Kansai, the rest of these 5 minutes are going to be about survival. Kon's certainly not letting up with nasty kicks and big backdrops, and whenever Kansai is able to slightly ward her off, it's not long before another whopping headbutt or slap stuns her again. Kansai tries to put on an octopus hold, but again, Kon powers out, and then hits a couple of pile drivers. Kansai tries further still, hitting some moves of her own, but Kon still has the advantage as the 5 minute period ends, so she's not going to go out straight away. At this stage, everyone's now able to come in, and naturally, we get a bit of outside brawling action. Kon misses a back elbow, and Kansai's finally able to tag out to Cutie Suzuki, who's full of rage and comes off the top. But Suzuki versus Kon is a bad combo indeed. Kon catches her and hits a fall-away slam despite others trying to stop it. Hasegawa hits a splash, and as they hold Team JWP back, Aja hits the top rope back elbow on Suzuki. It's enough for a 3 count. Team AJW have taken the lead. It's 2 falls to 1 at 23 minutes 04. It's taken 8 minutes for Kon, virtually on her own, to put Zenjo in control of the match. As we get into the remaining 40 minutes of this match, it's going to be hard to highlight every great move that happens because, well, there's so many of them. The pace simply isn't going to let up, and everyone is filling their roles superbly. It's clearly important for JWP to keep Aja Kon away from the ring as much as possible. Seemingly no one's able to damage her, and now that Zenjo are in the lead, they're happily taking the offensive. Suzuki, Fukuoka and Ozaki will all spend time, at one point or another, as a face in peril. Kansai is JWP's biggest weapon, of course, and she'll do her best. She does at one point try to imitate Aja's slam into the corner on Takako, but Kyoko stops it. Aja is brought in once more, and she's able to hit that running slam into the corner on Ozaki. The rest of the team all follow up with corner attacks, and this begins Ozaki's face in peril period. Kon then stretches Ozaki viciously, not budging even after some vicious strikes. Although those Kansai kicks certainly did smart, Kon doesn't show it until after she tags out. Kon then hits another vicious kick on Ozaki, this time while she's in a Kyoko camel clutch, although Ozaki is finally able to tag out here. Soon after we get Hasegawa against Suzuki, and another awesome moment. Hasegawa's rapid fire rolling butterfly suplexes. She hits 6 of these in the space of 20 seconds, but the pin gets interrupted. At this stage, Kansai is finally able to put some serious offense in, teaming with Ozaki for extra punishment and then bringing Fukuoka in for a missile dropkick, but this ends up bringing Kon back into play. Big slaps, attacks, immediate danger, and Fukuoka wearing Minami Toyota's outfit is only going to piss Aja off even more. Fukuoka tries desperately to do anything, but again, all it takes is a headbutt. Finally, after taking a whole load of pain from everyone, from boots to pile drivers, Fukuoka's able to get out and tag Ozaki in. At this stage, there are about 20 minutes left in the contest. At this stage, most everyone is starting to feel it a little bit. Kyoko Inoue is bloodied and bruised, Cutie Suzuki's often crouched in the corner, Mayumi Ozaki's left eye is just about closed up. It's a tough match indeed. At this stage, AJW still has the advantage, but gradually the tide seems to be turning. However, there is always a spoiler. Takako Inoue is very good at that. She interrupts so many pins, usually to the ire of the crowd. And of course, there's always Aja to contend with. But Kansai leads the charge back, G-ing the team back up, leading the line on corner attacks. Kyoko's able to get out of one of these, but Fukuoka reverses her and then locks in the rolling cradle, a signature Minami Toyota move. A defiant gesture indeed, even if it doesn't get the pin. JWP concentrates on Kyoko, who has perhaps taken the most damage. Everyone performs top rope moves on her, an Ozaki senton, a Suzuki stomp, a Kansai stomp to the face and a Fukuoka moonsault, but even with the rest of JWP guarding, Team AJW charges them and just about stops the 3 count. However, it really feels like a turning point as we get to the 45-minute mark. Kyoko comes back, hitting a big dive on the outside. We haven't seen many of those yet, but they're perfectly timed here, and crucially, attacking Aja while she's positioned on the ropes finally gives JWP the chance to put some big damage on her, Fukuoka diving right on her from the top. The assault on Kon continues, and Takako misses a big dive on Ozaki as Kansai suplexes Aja on the floor. Back in the ring, Kyoko nearly pins Ozaki with a German, and Hasegawa comes in next. However, with AJW still trying to recover, she gets isolated. Kansai soon comes in for her, hits several big backdrops and tries to go for Splash Mountain, but Takako interferes as usual. Fukuoka hits a top rope power slam on Hasegawa, but this time Kon breaks it. JWP are so close, but as Hasegawa gets her knees up on a moonsault and follows with a Uranage, you wonder if the moment's gone. Kyoko comes in and goes for the Niagara driver, but Fukuoka is able to reverse out, and this brings Kansai back in. We get interruptions for both Niagara driver and Splash Mountain attempts, but Kansai's quickest to strike back with a lariat, and then, as JWP swarms AJW, they're finally just about alone. Takako almost spoils it, but gets pushed back, and finally, with Kon being held in place, Kansai gets Kyoko up for Splash Mountain. She connects, and she gets the 3 count. At 50 minutes 09, the scores are level once again. It's 2 falls apiece, and everything to play for as we go into the final stretch. JWP are in the ascendancy as we head into the final 10. With Kyoko still in the ring, they're keen to attack her further, with Ozaki hitting a Liger Bomb, but Kyoko's able to kick out. Fukuoka hits a couple of DDTs, and Suzuki hits a Dragon Suplex, but again, Takako breaks the pin, and Kyoko's close enough to finally tag out. Hasegawa is the next to take punishment with a Fisherman Suplex from Ozaki, but she's able to make a quick tag out to Takako. AJW then clawfins back with the help of Kon. Nasty double clotheslines and shoulder tackles on Ozaki, and suddenly it seems like the complexion is changing again, especially with Ozaki isolated and now at Aja's mercy. She is just able to kick out of some nasty power moves. Kon follows up with a superplex, but again, it's not enough. A tremendous show of heart here. A top rope German suplex follows, and even that's not enough. Ozaki gets the shoulder up with Suzuki almost there, but not quite. A freaking top rope power slam from Aja. Surely that's enough, isn't it? No. At 55 minutes in, Ozaki is hit with the most vicious possible moves from Aja, but refuses to be pinned. Even Kansai appears amazed at the spirit, let alone Kon. Ozaki desperately tries to hit a sunset flip, but gets sat on, and again she kicks out. Finally though here, she is able to tag in Kansai, the big dogs going at it once again. Aja finally taking some punishment, some big strikes and an Enzui lariat almost getting a pin. Kansai picks her up, thinks about the next move and lights out. Hurricane. Kon has to tag out, even with Kansai poleaxed, but it would still be a statement to get that winning pin on the champ. Hasegawa hits 4 nasty soul butts to the head to knock her down again, but Kansai just kicks out. Takako hits a backdrop but doesn't get it, and a desperation sidekick reversal allows Kansai to get out and bring Fukuoka in. However, a German suplex is, once again, broken by Takako. Suzuki then comes up against Kyoko, who gets her down and goes for the springboard elbow, but she misses. A dragon suplex is then hit and guess who breaks it up? Yep, the crowd absolutely despises Takako at this point. Kyoko kicks out of a second dragon, eventually reversing a third attempt with a wheelbarrow suplex, and now it's Aja against Suzuki. A German suplex just gets broken up, and we are now at the 1 minute mark. Aja tags in Takako, who doesn't quite finish the job with a backdrop hold, and Suzuki is able to tag in Ozaki, who tries to roll her up, but Takako uses her strength for another backdrop. 30 seconds. Straight jacket backdrop Aurora special from Takako, and Ozaki kicks out once again. 10 seconds. Everyone holding back each other, Takako runs her to the ropes, but Ozaki reverses, goes behind, and hits the Tequila Sunrise suplex. 1, 2, 3. She's done it. With just 5 seconds remaining, Ozaki scores the decisive fall, and there is no time for anything else. Team JWP wins the contest by 3 falls to 2. Huge celebrations from the home team, recriminations from the away team with Aja Kon having some words to say to Kansai, and everyone on Team JWP getting a moment to bask in the spotlight. We also get a moment between Kansai and the night's special guest, the legendary Chigusa Nagayo. It appears that, with the greatest amount of respect of course, there's a challenge made by Kansai to have the honour of facing the almighty Chico-chan. And at last, as everyone in JWP celebrates, we get to the end of the tape and a rundown of the night's highlights. Whew. So obviously there's a lot to break down. This is one of the most epic matches I have ever covered, after all. Just how well is this match booked? One of many bits of genius in this bout is how, as a 60-minute contest, it defies all expectations. No one would have expected there to be any pinfalls in the initial first attack section, the 5-minute singles. And then, Fukuoka gets that early fall, 3 minutes in. Immediately everyone is glued to their seat after that, because there's always clearly going to be a chance. Then there's the Kon Kansai opening. There is something of a callback here to Dream Slam 2, when the main event tag match saw Kansai getting the first fall on Toshio Yamada in just 12 seconds with an immediate splash mountain. That showed Kansai's power, but then she had basically the same thing done to her here. And then, in the tag bout itself, everyone had their role to play, enhanced by the story beats that had already been set. For Kansai, the rest of the match was about redeeming herself after losing that fall, which she eventually did. She may not have got it against Kon, but she got the equaliser. Kon herself was of course the biggest obstacle of them all, a dominant force in this match, seemingly invincible until close to the end. Hasegawa and Fukuoka were both absolutely brilliant in their athlete roles. Suzuki may have been the weakest and got punished at times but filled that role great. And Kyoko Inoue was, put in the nicest and most positive terms possible, a bitch. She generated so much heat with all those pin breakups. And then, well, there's not enough good words to say about Kyoko Inoue and Mayumi Ozaki. Both put in an ungodly amount of work for their respective teams, both were in the most time for their respective teams, and they sure as hell had the marks to show for it. It almost feels unfair to do it, but if you had to reward someone for being the woman of the match, it would be Mayumi Ozaki. The heart she showed at the end, especially against a kin-hell onslaught from Aja Kon, was unreal. And it was the perfect ending too. Ozaki gets the winning fall, and she gets it against Kyoko Inoue. Finally, after so many interruptions, she gets her comeuppance. And again, it's a finish that defies expectations. At that stage of the match, so late on, people surely thought it would end in a draw, as so many other matches like this have, especially inter-promotional ones. Ozaki gets the 3 count, and the crowd goes absolutely freaking wild for it. What a finale! Perhaps the biggest legacy of this contest, really, is that, well, no one's ever really tried to replicate it. So many other things about 90s Joshi, about 90s Pro-Res, have had attempts made at emulating it. But not this. It's almost as if you can't. The original New Dimension 8 Queens, the Thunder Queen battle, was so flawless, so utterly perfect, that there's simply no point even trying. It is, by a long distance, the greatest Iron Man, or indeed Iron Woman, match ever. Nothing is even remotely close to it, and it's one of the greatest matches of all time. I barely even need to say that it got 5 stars. Hell, it should have gotten more. Now, normally I would go into a quick epilogue section where I look at some things that happened next, but that doesn't seem like the right thing to do here. I almost never use the word masterpiece because of how overused it is, but this truly is one, and you should just be left here to bask in its glory. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and until the next time, bye for now.